Recording in progress.
Dessert.
We got Sean, you're good. How's Keith doing? Did Freddie have to tell you to buy them dinner in 2 weeks? Yeah. I bet on the election side. Said Trump was gonna lose. But we made the bill and buy it back over. And it carried over. So I owe them San Nicole on December 6th. I lost 2 steak and I lost 3 steak dinners about a time. I'll get the same.
I wish you didn't.
The other way I had 4 dinners, right? Yeah, exactly.
Chicken.
The fund.
I tell you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order. Thank you for coming to the Tuesday, November 19th Board of Supervisors meeting. Everybody stand please for the pledge and we'll remain standing for a moment of silence. John?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please, for our first responders, fire, police, and ambulance, and especially this month for the veterans. I guess that's it.
Thank you. Please have a seat. All right. Just as a reminder to everybody, this is being recorded via Zoom, and Zoom participants will have an opportunity to speak after the people in the room. And we did have an executive session this evening prior to this meeting to discuss contractual issues and
And real estate.
real estate. Thank you. See, the township building will be closed for Thursday, November 28th and Friday, November the 29th. Oh, thank you. And that will be for Thanksgiving. Thanks to all who came out to our veterans, our first annual veterans event that happened on Veterans Day at 10 o'clock here at Veterans Pavilion. And we hope to see more people out next year. It was a really, really nice event though. So our thanks to Jess and Jason for pulling that all together. Is there any public comment to start with? Not a non-agenda item. Seeing none, we'll go right to the emergency services reports. That would be if Chief, you would come on up, Chief Brenda Burnett will come on up. And she'll give us the WEGO report. Thanks for coming this evening. Good to see you. You have a lot of coats over there at the fire department, at the police department?
Yes, I also always in the lobby.
Oh my goodness.
I've got a few on, but they didn't fit.
Especially the children's ones.
Yeah.
They did not fit.
I'd like to begin this evening with a statistical report. For the month of October, there were 2,143 calls for service handled by the police department. Of that, 1,195 occurred here in East Ocean. Year to date, there's 19,117 calls for service. When you look at our calls for service over a period of time, they are gradually increasing from pre-pandemic levels to the current level. When you take out the proactive work that we do, and we already look at the reactive, in other words, someone calls us and we come to provide service, that number is much lower. For anybody who's interested, we are going to have a police commission meeting tomorrow. And looking at statistics, if you're into that, it's one of the things we're going to be doing. That is held from 11 to 1 tomorrow. And we also have remote participation for anybody who'd like to remote in. I'd like to highlight some of the significant community outreach activities that we've done in the last month. The first one is our One Warm Coat initiative that Michelle was referring to and John took. We're collecting gently used and new coats, scarves, mittens, hats, etc. We want to make sure that everybody in our community has the opportunity to be safe and warm this winter. So please, if you can, contribute. And what's downstairs is very impressive. My thanks to the East Ocean residents for being so generous in their contributions. We are also participating in Blue Beards for Charity. If you see our officers wearing beards or wearing pink badges, that is in support of the 5 local charities that we are raising money for this year. Obviously, one of them is breast cancer awareness. So please help us. If you're interested, stop out at our station or contact one of our officers and we'll see that you get a yard sign to show that you're in support of that. Some of the other things that we've done is in the last 30 days, our traffic safety unit has teamed up with the County Highway Safety Project and also Westchester Area School District for Operation Safe Stop and also National School Bus Safety Week. We have a lot of schools in our jurisdiction and it means a lot to us that we're out there making sure that people are following the school bus laws. Our officers also participated in the Brian Needleman Memorial Foundation 5K run that was at the East Goshen Park recently. And specifically East Goshen, we participated in the Hershey's Mill Health Fair, the Goshen Fire Company Open House, the East Goshen food truck event, and also we did a safety presentation at the Ducklings Daycare Center. With regard to trends in the township that I think the residents should be aware of, in October, we had a total of 21 frauds and 2 counterfeiting offenses, which involved check washing that occurred in East Goshen. This is a higher than normal rate for East Goshen, and they were very diverse in what happened. Everything from jury duty scams to computer repair scams to extortion scams. The most commonly occurring ones that occurred in this township in the month of October were jury duty scams and extortion scams, and I'd kind of like to highlight those. One thing I can tell you is people miss jury duty. If you are ever contacted by somebody who says you have to pay a fine or you have to do something immediately that involves money or giving them your personal information, it is definitively a scam. That will never occur. The second one is extortion scam. People get these emails or phone calls or whatever that appear to have very personal information about them, but really what it is, people are going onto the internet and they're getting information that you're putting out there on social media or even Google Earth, and they're trying to extort money out of you. Do not respond. These individuals are generally not in the country trying to extort you, and therefore they're not going to come to your house and hurt your family, even though it sounds very convincing in their emails or their phone calls. The other trend that I want to highlight for East Goshen is during the month of October, there were 8 theft investigations. There was only 1 retail theft at the giant food store, which resulted in an arrest. But the other ones that we're looking at is a trend that was happening in Westtown is starting to occur more frequently in East Goshen, and that has to do with theft of cell phones. I can't go really into depth into the details, but there are people that are tracking the delivery of your cell phone. So it's put on your porch step. Somebody shows up 5 minutes later, they look like they're an Amazon or FedEx, or because they look like they're wearing an official uniform. And what they do is they reach down, they pick it up and they take off with it. So if you are expecting a cell phone to be delivered to you, we recommend that you either take hand delivery or you require a signature, have it delivered to a business, so it's being taken inside of the business. But we had several of those in the month of October in East Goshen. And with the season of holidays approaching, porch pirates, somebody steals something off your porch, are going to become more common. So we suggest that you exercise the same precautions to protect yourself. The only unusual crime that we really had in East Goshen, I'm disappointed to report this, is that an individual was shooting an airsoft weapon and attacked. So we're working with the SPCA to try to get resolution on that one, but we don't normally get that kind of crime in East Goshen, so. Yeah. Are there any questions from the board?
Go ahead.
2 things. I know I asked you last meeting, but we haven't had a commission meeting since. How much is I'll bring a check tomorrow. What is it for Bluebeards? What is that for the yard sign?
If you just want a yard sign, it's $20.
Okay. And then my next thing for you is I emailed you today, but I don't know if anyone's noticed the WeGo Facebook the last couple of weeks. It's been exceptional in my opinion. There's been a lot more engagement. a lot of posts collaborating with other departments, and I'm just very pleased with the amount of community engagement I've noticed and people being very pleased with the increase. So I think you said it was Officer Hyman who's doing it, and he's fantastic. So I just want to commend him publicly. I will tomorrow as well, but he's doing a great job.
I pass it. Super positive feedback.
Does anybody else have any questions? Barbara, do you have something?
Not a question, but just an oversight, when you were mentioning all the public engagement. You also did a fraud education event for Paoli Hospital Auxiliary in Hershey's Mill for 50 people attending.
That was
So-
in November. I always report in November for the month.
Oh, well,
Okay.
anyway, I just wanted to say thank you.
We got very positive feedback on that, and because Hershey Mills residents are kind of like our target audience for frauds and scams, every opportunity we can to get in there, we're excited about. One of the things we're exploring now is their TV station. We're going to try to record something that can be shown to the residents. So, every time we're in there, that's good news. Hopefully it's.
You can say
couple
thank you
fronts
twice.
for them, too.
Well, I'll say thank you again the next time.
Yeah, I just, sometimes people say to me, it's like, well, what about that thing that just happened? And it's like, well, I'm always trying to report on the previous one.
Double credit.
Double credit. Any other questions?
No, thank you, but thank you so much for coming in. The frauds are so disappointing to hear about, and the more recent air,
Yes.
airsoft, that was terrible.
Hey, Michelle, this is Russ Frank. Can you hear me?
I sure can.
I had two questions for the chief, if I may.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Hey, Chief, Russ Frank, in Marydale Farms.
Hello.
I noticed I talked to you pre-pandemic about the problem on Boot Road going north towards the Paoli Pike, and how people going north on Paoli Pike, they want to make a left, north on Boot Road, they want to make a left. They start going into the other lane right at the end of where those apartments end and the shopping center begins. And it is starting again almost 3 times a week now. A couple times they, as I'm getting up to the place where you're allowed to make the turn with my turn signal on, one car almost ran into me. Is there, I know there's a problem you might not be able to handle, but is there anything you can do to alleviate that? Because it's like I say, it's getting worse than the pre-pandemic time that I sent you some notes on.
I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. We find that when things start to crop up again, that if we make it the subject of a patrol check and give it a little extra attention, combination of the officers being present and also taking enforcement action, tends to curb things. So what I'm
Yep.
going to do, I'm going to add it to our patrol check.
Yep,
And-
yeah, I do remember that, and it worked well.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that it worked well for you. So
Yeah, yeah.
I will definitely put it on the patrol check. And you said there was a second question?
West Goshen has decided to go EVs on one of their patrol cars. Is there anything in your organization that's thinking you might want to do that?
We have looked at it, and one of the things that we're getting right now is a lot of negative feedback from other agencies that used EVs as patrol cars.
Yeah,
I think our first step is what we need to do is we need to look at potentially for perhaps something like a detective car, command staff car, training cars. I think that would probably be our first step into it. And I think that the police commission and looking at some of the infrastructure that's needed for EVs has kind of caused them pause.
yeah,
Other agencies have found that it wasn't as cost prohibitive because their police department is right beside their township building.
Right.
And basically killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
right.
Story, we are going to continue to look at the technology, and if it becomes more effective and also less cost prohibitive, then I don't see any reason why we wouldn't move in that direction.
I mean, you do communicate with West Goshen on this and see what their experiences are, aren't you?
Yes, we did, and they had 2 cars that were EVs. Either they were EVs or hybrids,
They're
but either
EVs.
way,
EVs,
Yeah.
were the
they're Mustang EVs.
it-
Yeah, one was definitely an EV that I saw.
Yeah, it didn't particularly work very well for them. They
Yeah.
have issues. But it just means that we have to wait for the technology to catch up for what we ask of patrol vehicles. But there's no reason we can't look at implementing this for some of the fleet, if not patrol vehicles, something within our fleet.
Right, right. Yeah, it seems like from what I understand, talking to some of the officers over there, it's a not what they thought it was going to be.
I mean, the technology's still young.
Yeah,
To put the infrastructure at the police department was well over $100,000.
right, right.
There was a lot of concern about spending that money before the technology is ready to implement.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. Thank you very much, though.
You're welcome, thank you, and we will get a patrol check on that area for you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for your question, Frank.
All right.
Russ. I'm
That's okay.
sorry.
That's okay.
I'm looking at your name, sorry, and I don't have my glasses on. I could see the Frank really well, but I know it's Russ. So Russ,
Thank you.
is there anything else for the chief? And then appreciate you being here. Thank you.
See you tomorrow. Thank
Have a
you.
good evening and Grant, would you come on up and give us the Goshen Fire Department rundown, please? While he's coming up, I'm just gonna mention that the fire, both Malvern Fire and Good Fellowship are in the packet and if anybody on the board has any questions, we can go through Derek's on that. Thanks for coming, Grant.
On the month of October, we had 54 fire responses, 35 fire chief responses, and 446 EMS responses. These bases found that we had 21
Grant,
fire responses.
excuse me, Grant, could you move your microphone just a little bit? Thank you so much.
We had 21 fire responses in East Ocean, 11 fire police responses, and 214 EMS responses, which is about 48% of our total. Automatic fire and seal alarms are about 46% of our fire calls, which is slightly above our average. Our fire prevention open house on October 11th, great success, very well attended by the public. And in a week or so, we will be mailing our annual EMS subscription drive letter. And we didn't have any serious incidents in East Ocean Township in the month.
Does anybody on the board have any questions for Grant this evening?
Wish I would have been winning the raffle.
You haven't won yet, huh, Heather, Cody? Barbara, do you have anything for Grant?
Thank you for the great tour the other day. Appreciate it. And for sending the audit. Appreciate that.
And Peter, do you have anything? John? So thank you again for sending the audit over. We appreciated that. Thank you very much. And so, I don't think there are any other questions, so have a good night. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. All right, this evening we have a public hearing. And Mark, usually this is where we let you take over.
Sure. Cool.
No,
We do not have a court reporter.
Not that I see.
That's not
required, Mark.
It's an unusual thing.
It's required, well, it's not required, but it's always something that we like to have. I'm not sure what happened tonight, but we.
It's usually required.
It is being recorded. It is being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any law that says?
Jessica.
Do you have any issue with a court reporter, if there not being a court reporter here? I'm not sure what happened.
I think we're okay as long as the meeting is being recorded and if there's a reason to have it transcribed, we would be able to do that.
That's what I would suggest.
Okay.
Are you okay with that then, just for the record?
I'm okay with that, yes.
Okay.
And the meeting is also on YouTube after we close, so you could go on there even if you didn't get a transcript.
Yes.
Okay, and will you need an easel? It would appear that we don't have one right here, but is there one available? Oh, there's one right outside. We can just utilize that one. Yeah, there's one right outside the door. Yeah,
I
I
do
get
have
that.
copies of all the exhibits for board paper formats, so that should make it easy for you all, if we public, we can put a couple of things up on the board.
Okay, and just so that you understand, we will need, whoever is speaking, we will need them to use the microphone for the people who are on our Zoom platform. Thank you. All right, Mark, are you gonna take it from
Okay.
there?
So just for the record, the meeting is being recorded. This is an application, a conditional use application of Kenneth and Andrea Connors, for the property consisting of 35.9 acres of land located at 1671 and 1681 East Strasburg Road, identified as tax parcel number 53-4-134.4 and 53-4-134.3. The property is located in the R2 low density residential district, and the applicants are requesting conditional use approval to permit an animal husbandry use on the property pursuant to section 240-9B2 of the East Goshen Township zoning ordinance. The applicants intend to construct a horse barn and accessory apartment no more than 1,200 square feet in size within a proposed horse barn as part of the animal husbandry use, which is permitted pursuant to section 240-34A of the zoning ordinance. Since this is a hearing, I have exhibits I'd like to make a note of for the record. Exhibit T1 is the application. Exhibit T2 is the public notice. Exhibit T3 is the proof of publication of that public notice in the Daily Local News. Exhibit T4 is an affidavit of posting of that public notice. T5 is the certificate of mailing of the public notice. T6 is an October 17th, 2024 memorandum from the East Goshen Township Planning Commission concerning the application. T7 is a November 8th, 2024 memorandum from the Township Zoning Officer Kelly Kraus. And exhibit T8 is East Goshen Township zoning ordinance. So before we start the hearing, I'd like to request if anyone would like to be a party to the hearing. Don't have to be a party to ask questions or make statements. Party status is reserved for individuals that have a particular relationship to this property, such as owning property adjacent to or in the vicinity of the property. Party status would allow you to receive a copy of the decision, and ultimately, if you weren't satisfied with that decision, potentially appeal it further on to a court. So with that being said, would anyone like to request party status? So I'll just make a note for the record that no one is making that request. So why don't I ask for counsel? I don't know, we would have counsel here.
Yeah, that would be
it. So, Gina?
Hi, my name is Gina Gerber. I'm an attorney with Riley Wright Hall and College Greco. I'm here on behalf of the applicant this evening. I am joined by two witnesses. Denny Howell III is our civil engineer. Does that work better for all?
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. And so he'll be
Can
providing,
you move
So
that a little
testimony?
bit that way?
yes, we're gonna get a little bit organized here. I have some exhibits to pass out.
Sorry,
We'll move the easel so that you all can actually
We
see
want
us.
you to be up front on the film.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we're also joined this evening by the owner of the property, Andrea Connors, and they'll both be offering some testimony this evening.
Okay.
So without further ado, I'm gonna pass out the exhibits. Okay?
Yes, I think that's just for you. Oh, boy.
Thanks a lot.
And I apologize, some of this is gonna be duplicative of what Mark has
That's fine.
provided you already.
Oh.
So don't get too nervous about the size of these packets.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You very well.
And I think it's fair to say that most of us have done a good bit of our homework, so
Good.
hopefully there won't be too many questions
Excellent.
for you.
We'll keep it short.
Okay, great.
My favorite.
That's the best. All right.
Even when the Phillies are.
Exactly. Don't bring it up.
So
Would
I'll
you-
just kick this off a little bit, and give you a little bit of background on what we're going to be, providing some information on this evening. As Mark indicated, this is two properties. It's just under 36 acres total. The applicant is currently in the process of constructing a single-family residence primary dwelling on the property. what is being proposed is an accessory animal husbandry use. Your ordinance actually permits this as an accessory use in the R2 district pursuant to section 240-9E12. We are here this evening, under the determination that conditional use is required for an animal husbandry use in the R2 district. So you'll hear testimony tonight that satisfies both the conditional use standards as well as evidence that shows that we are also in compliance with the animal husbandry requirements under section 34 of the ordinance. As I indicated, this is in the R2 district of the property, and the property is owned by Kenneth and Andrea Connors. So, I don't know, I guess we should probably swear them in. We'll swear them in. I'll swear them in if you're all okay with that. Mark, are you okay with
That's
that?
fine.
All right. So Andrea Connors and Denny Hollifer, would you both stand up, raise your right
And
hand?
they'll need to come over here so that, yeah, we're gonna get another mic for you. Because we want to make sure that this is recorded so that it could be potentially transcribed if so needed. I'm sorry for the delay.
You-
All right, you both raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Very much.
they're sworn in.
They're sworn in. It's official. Andrea, you can actually stay up there to have you testify first. I'm gonna grab the handheld, I think that'll be the best way to do this. All right, would you please state your full name and your address for the record?
Andrea Connors, 25 Sweetbriar Lane, Glen Mills, Pennsylvania, 19342.
We've pre-marked a copy of the deed for the property, exhibit A3. Exhibit A3, a copy of the true and correct deed for your property, which evidences your and your spouse's ownership of the subject property this evening?
Yes, it is.
Very good. We've also attached to exhibit A4, a copy of an aerial of the property, which you actually see up on the screen there in the meeting room this evening. Do you recognize that property as the property in which you own?
Yes.
And where's that property located in the township? What's the address?
1671 and 1681 East Stroudsburg Road,
Very good.
Westchester. Yeah. Very good.
We've provided as exhibit A5 a copy of the grading permit plan last revised September 5th of 2023 that was prepared by Howell Engineering. I'm going to refer your attention to exhibit A5, which is actually up on the easel here this evening. Would you please describe the improvements that are being performed on this particular property?
So you can see, as you come down the driveway, on the right-hand side, that's gonna be a riding ring. That's where will be, it'll have like sand and it'll be for, the horses to have like a little fenced area. To the right, you'll see our driveway coming down. That's gonna be our single-family residence, on the hill there on the right. If you were to continue straight and to the left, that takes you down, again, down a hill, to the barn, which is a 20-stall barn.
We have attached as exhibit A6 a copy of a conservation easement, which is of title to your particular property. Is it your understanding that this conservation easement permits you to utilize the property for a single-family residence as well as the accessory animal husbandry use?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Excuse me, can you make sure that you speak directly into, it's unidirectional mic, I'm sorry.
No, that's quite all right.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the reminder. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're intending to utilize the accessory structures, including the barn and the riding ring?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So the whole purpose of our project and our farm was to relocate our family to a farm property so that we could bring, we have horses. My daughter is a high-level equestrian who's competed for Team USA in Europe and other, even here in the United States. And our plan was to try to have her have a facility here in Pennsylvania. She currently, we send Kaylin and her horses to Kentucky for 5-6 months of the year. So we wanted to try to sell our house where we are now, build a farm. I grew up on a farm. So we wanted to try to have everything be at one location so we could bring Keaton back to Pennsylvania at least 5 months of the year. The other time she's in Florida competing in Wellington. So that was our intent, was to have the barn. We have some retired horses or pleasure horses that I ride that I currently keep in Kimberton, Pennsylvania. So we're looking to bring them home, and then she has horses that she rides and competes with on the circuit. Which is like a 4 or 5 star, circuit that she competes on a regular basis all across the country.
So when this facility is being used for high level and Olympic level training for equestrian facilities, does that come equipped with trainers and grooms and other caretakers?
It
for
does.
horses?
So the horses, they travel with Caitlin, and we have grooms, and a trainer, who is an Olympic rider, and we have other, high-level riders that basically travel within our program, our trainer program to the shows and have, at facilities where they're not showing, because you don't want to be on the road all the time. You have a home base.
And so will this facility be open to the public at all?
No,
This is purely for private use.
correct.
What's the maximum number of individuals you anticipate maybe using the facilities at any given time?
So if we were talking about as far as using the facilities, riding, it's a 20-horse stall barn, so you could have riders, you could have trainers and grooms, but you could also have vets and farriers. They visit the property on a regular basis to shoe the horses and they check on horses on a regular basis. So I wouldn't anticipate more than 15 to 20 if you added all of the grooms and the riders and the trainers together. Myself, our family.
And this is the number is very much varying throughout the year, correct? There's higher peak times, there's.
So this facility is only for us to use when she's not in Florida. So it would be primarily, they come home, you guys may know the Devon Horse Show, that's a four-star event. So she competes at their 4-star event in their Grand Prix. So they usually come home to Pennsylvania. We've stayed at other farms in the area until the Devon Horse Show. And then she would typically go to Kentucky. And then she left for Florida in October. She left the beginning of October because she did a show in North Carolina. So it's really from April, May until September, October. That's the only time that we have really the higher level shows in this area.
Did you also direct the preparation of a building plan by King Construction Company last revised November 28th of 2023, which we've attached as Exhibit A7?
Yes.
I'm going to refer you all to sheets 2 and 3 of that Exhibit A7. Can you generally describe the layout of the barn and how you're planning to utilize that particular structure in conjunction with the animal husbandry use?
So I don't have it up here to show it to you, but it's a 20-stall barn. And we have watch stalls inside the barn. There's a tack room for the horse equipment. There's a feed room attached to the barn, and we have a utility and a laundry room for their all of their equipment, their tack that they use, with blankets, etc. Thank you. And then we have that's on the first floor, and then there's a breezeway that leads you to a garage area, and the first bay is a little bit larger, and that's actually our hay storage area. And then we have a 2-car garage. We have a tractor, and we usually have jumps that we store. This is a show jumper. And then to the right of the big bay, the garage bay 1, they're outdoor wash stalls, because again, we're really here, except for the retired horses, would be in the summer, so we have just for the 20 horses in the barn at that time. And then upstairs, our barn, it's kind of a little hard to tell, but the barn sits kind of, that's because of our conservation trust, where we could build our house and our farm are very, times up the slopes, but they sit down a hill.
I'm sorry.
So
Speaking.
they sit down a hill. So if you go up the steps of the barn, there's a viewing area so that you can see the rings. as well as the horses. We turn our horses out in individual paddocks. They don't go out with more than one horse at a time. So we have to keep an eye on them. If they start acting crazy, they come in. So, we have a viewing area there. Also, like when Caitlin is in Kentucky, she lives in a hotel when she's out there. So if she has other riders that are here, it'll be a place that they can hang out, during the day. You know, in between riding. Then we have like a conference area and there's 2 offices. This is a business, it's an agricultural business, for our daughter. So, she just graduated from the University of Miami. And so this is this is her career and this is what she's gonna do. So we have the 2 offices. And then we have the apartment is in the back area behind the outdoor steps coming up. So it's separate from the conference area and the viewing area. And we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,200 square foot apartment. And the goal is that is for our grooms, for our trainers. Our grooms, most of them don't drive. They stay with the horses all the time. They're there, they do night check, they do morning check. So that's why, again, like the viewing area, they have to keep an eye on the horses when they're outside. And then they're, you know, they stay on the property with the horses. And they travel with, it's all part of this team that travels with the horses at this level. Thank you, Andrea. That is all the direct questions I had for Andrea this evening.
Board have any questions for the witness?
I had a comment. Go ahead.
Go ahead, good.
No, it's okay.
I'm gonna just ask real quick, you don't have an intention for an indoor arena, but you're gonna have an outdoor ring, is that correct?
Correct. We're not allowed to have an indoor arena under our conservation trust.
Okay.
I did try, but it didn't get approved.
I'm sure you
So,
did.
yeah. And it's,
Um,
and again, back to, we're really only here 5 months
Right.
out of the year.
And then
I
this
ride
month.
now, I can, if it's bad weather, I skip, so
Sure.
it's all good.
Great, I have no questions for you. I went over to the property with our public works director. And I saw what you're doing and it looks like it's gonna be quite a fine operation, so good luck.
Thank you.
The intention is only to have horses, there's no intention to have cattle
No,
or
correct.
other livestock.
Horses don't like. them.
Only horses. I just wanted to
Only
make that
horses.
clear to everybody because that is a question that some people might have. Thank you.
Mark also took me over and it looks like a magnificent facility and just want to thank you for choosing East Goshen and you're more than welcome to stay here more than 5 months out of the year. So,
Thank you. I will be.
okay, good.
It's just Caitlin and the horses, but thank you.
Anybody else on the board with any questions or comments?
I just have a quick question. You said 15 to 20 horses at a time, whether
There's
20
was a
stalls.
20 stall barn, and yes, so we could have 20 horses, at the property, correct?
But usually you're not gonna have that many, a little bit less than 20 or.
We would only have, that would be if we were at full capacity and only those 5 months. Because when Caitlin and the team travel, they would take those, we only have, I have 2 retired horses and an injured horse right now that would possibly, if we had the farm facility ready, they would stay there until, because I haven't boarded other places.
So the other 6 months of the year, you would have much lesser.
It's a very quiet,
Smaller
yes,
operation.
correct.
And then you had mentioned the apartment for grooms. There's no
Correct.
teacher. What, is that a job? And I just
It's
want
a
to make sure I'm
full-time,
getting
it's a
that right.
career for somebody that takes care of the horse. They usually take care of, about 3 horses.
Okay.
Is their average,
And they would be staying in the apartment.
correct?
Cody, did you wanna make a motion?
Mark, I don't know.
Oh, wait, I think we still have another witness.
Oh, okay,
I do. I have the civil engineer. We'll go quickly, I promise.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Welcome to East Goshen.
Take your time.
I won't belabor this, I promise.
Well, like I told you, we've already done our homework. folks.
Is there any truth to the rumor that Kevin Costner will be here?
Denny, will you please state your full name?
Yes, my name is Denny Lee Howell, third.
Thank you. Denny is an engineer in training. We've attached his CV as exhibit 8, but we would ask that he admitted as an expert in civil engineering for purposes of tonight's hearing.
Denny's testified in other townships and, I would recommend that he accept it as an expert.
Okay.
Good enough for us.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Was your office responsible for exhibit 8.5, which is the grading permit plan we're looking at on the easel this evening?
Yes,
Is the property zoned R2
yes,
and the property is approximately 35.9 acres across two UPI numbers? Is that accurate?
that's correct.
Does exhibit 8.5 include a zoning chart that shows compliance with the area and bulk regulations for the R2 district?
Yes, the only thing that I would add on that would be that one of the lots has a non-conforming, minimum lot width at the street line, and that would be the rear lot.
Have you had an opportunity to review the requirements of the ordinance relating to animal husbandry use?
Yes,
Pursuant to the ordinance, is animal husbandry permitted by right as an accessory use in the R2 district?
yes,
And we're here this evening to permit it by conditional use in accordance with section 240-9B2. Is that your understanding?
yes,
Have you reviewed the agricultural use standard section 34A of the zoning ordinance?
yes,
Is the property greater than 10 gross acres exclusive of road right of ways?
yes, the overall property is about 35.9 acres, and the property where the proposed agricultural use will take place, the rear property is about 17.2 acres.
Are any of the buildings or structures closer than 85 feet to a front lot line or 100 feet to a side or rear lot line?
No,
Does the proposed apartment over the barn exceed 1,200 square feet of gross floor area?
no,
Does the proposed barn comply with the yard setback, lot coverage, and height requirements of the RD?
yes,
Are you also familiar with the conditional use standards of the ordinance?
yes,
In your opinion, does this husbandry use on the property create a significant hazard to public health and safety? Or create a danger of fire, toxic, or explosive hazards?
no.
Is the property suitable for this proposed animal husbandry accessory use?
Yes, the property meets all the minimum, area and bulk requirements for the animal husbandry use within the R2 district. Additionally, as Andrea testified to, animal husbandry is one of the allowed uses, for the conservation easement that's placed on the property.
Are these accessory buildings associated with the animal husbandry use operated, and will they be maintained in harmony with the character of the existing or intended development in this general vicinity of the township?
Yes, the surrounding properties are all zoned R2 and are, very, rural in character and nature, and that will be continued on this property with rural, architecture and the agricultural use.
Thank you. Do you foresee this use, the animal husbandry use, being detrimental in any way to other properties? And are there adequate setbacks and screenings proposed as part of this construction?
No, I do not anticipate that this will be a detriment to the surrounding properties. And, the proposed grading permit plan abides by all of the required area and bulk, requirements, including setbacks.
Any detrimental impact on public facilities or public uses?
No,
Is there adequate access for firefighting and emergency service equipment?
yes, I've, prepared a truck turning template plan that you can see here is also included as one of the exhibits that shows a fire truck that is comparable to the East Goshen or the Goshen, fire company's fire truck, and it is fully able to turn right and left into the property and make its way back to the barn, and back to the area where the apartment will be.
And for clarity, this is exhibit 8.9. Do you anticipate any significant safety hazards or any serious traffic congestion as a result of the animal husbandry use?
No.
And finally, any detrimental impact to public streets or street intersections with regard to this use?
No, as Andrea, had stated before, there'll be minimal, vehicle traffic generated, because of this use. Many of the, groomers and other people working on the farm, live on the farm with the horses. Our approved HOP, permit plan, is good for 50 trips per day, which we should easily be, less than.
Does this site or any of the neighboring sites fall into question and impact to historic structures of the township?
No.
And were the structures located and designed in order to minimize disruption to existing topography, waterways, ponds, groundwater recharge, wooded areas or other natural resources on this site?
Yes, the property was designed and built and placed in accordance with the East Goshen Township Natural Resource Protection Standards.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have, Commissioner Howell, this evening.
Anything from the board?
Yes, I'd like to know, what is the width of the driveway?
The minimum width of the driveway is 12 feet. There are certain sections of the driveway, like for example, the entrance and closer towards the barn where the width is 20 feet.
Is that supposed to be within is that within our zoning? Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay. And is the driveway going to be built to standard so that it can withstand heavy trucks? You're going to be putting potentially 8 horses in a trailer at some point. That's going to require a heavy load on the road. Is this going to have adequate weight load for the driveway?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
that went into our original design.
And there's adequate turning radius for some of those longer trailers?
Yes, that's
Because
correct.
they're like 18-wheelers.
Yes, we worked with,
They are.
Yeah.
we worked with Mrs. Connors and with Mr. Moser, the site contractor, to come up with a plan and a layout that would suit Mrs. Connors' needs.
Okay,
Michelle, your concerns are not about the trucks for the horses. Our concerns are about access for emergency vehicles,
Mhm.
fire ambulances, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
I would assume if the road is adequate for the horse trailer, it's adequate for a fire truck.
yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, but I was wondering how they were gonna get those horses in and out of there, because if there's gonna be up to 20 horses in that facility, those are gonna be expensive assets that you're gonna want to be protected, so you want our fire department to be able to get down there quickly. Does anybody else on the board have any questions?
I just have one question. There's, Danny, there's 2 lots here, right? Is there anything, right, there's 2
There's 2
parcels.
lots, yes.
Is there anything that prevents them from being sold separately? And I'm noting that because you have a driveway that crosses one of the lots, and I don't know if there's an easement for that driveway or not.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Andrea, the intention of keeping them separate was because of the conservation easement is against one of the parcels. Oh, it's against both. Okay,
It is against both.
it's absolutely.
Thank you.
So it is against both parcels. So Denny mentioned that the agricultural use is on this lot, but it's on the whole property. These will be paddocks in here. And the ring, as you can see, comes over and also comes into the one lot, but you cannot build on this lot. So it has to be, it can't ever have any buildings on this as part of my conservation easement. So I had to have permission to have the ring, it's not a building, but to have the ring go into that area.
Right, so you ostensibly, the lots are merged to a certain extent because you can't do anything.
Correct. You would have absolutely no value. You couldn't build, I had to get permission to do a turnout shed. I mean, I can do turnout sheds on the property, but like I wanted to put it down here where it was tucked in and hidden, away from the street and away from the views, and which we received, but, that's the limit of what we can put on that lot is turnout sheds.
Okay, that answers my question.
And we
So-
do have a driveway easement, because East Goshen did want us to have a driveway easement between the 2 properties.
Right.
So we did prepare that, so we would have that.
And additionally, there's an easement for the riding ring as well.
They, that was granted by the trust, but
there's an easement for both the ring and
not the ring, there's no easement needed for the ring, because
Okay.
it's allowed to be on the property.
Okay,
It's not a structure, so it was allowed to be granted. We
okay,
just were out of the build area and wanted to be sure before when we were doing all of our infrastructure and our MPDS permitting, we needed to make sure that it was okay, and they approved it.
so can these parcels, I guess my question for Mark is, can these parcels be sold separately at some later date? And are the easements that they're providing for adequate for a sale of, like, if they decided that they were going to move their physical residence to a different location and they decided to sell the house portion, but maintain the stalls as their business? Is there anything that says that they can't do that?
Well, I don't think there is. I mean, that's why I asked the question. Driveway easement, she said there was a driveway easement that was prepared and going to file that.
No, it's recorded.
Oh,
The
it's-
township requested us to do that. We did so.
Okay,
But if I may
that was the only-
interject, based on this whole setup, the ownership of each means very little compared to the overall conservation of the two properties. I mean, wouldn't that be fair to say?
Yeah, I.
I mean, even if two different people own it, that doesn't change how it can be used in the future,
No,
based on what we have going
I
on.
think it makes sense, given the fact that you're not permitted to have any structures on the front lot, that they would be used in concert with each other, and that was kind of what I was trying to get at. Was there a limitation on that front lot and the potential for that, being sold in the future? I mean, given the fact that it's a horse farm, and in order to have a horse farm, you wanna have fields associated with it, it's more likely that this will be used as a single property with two separate lots. And you said you don't wanna have them merged just because you have to probably amend the conservation easement.
Correct. The conservation easement said no further subdivision and no further, they wanted to have it separate. I'm not quite sure why. It would have been easy for me to do a reverse subdivision, and especially with like you'll never sell the party. It has no value whatsoever without being able to, be in connection with the house
Right.
and the barn.
I don't have any other
Okay.
questions. Does anybody else on the board have any questions? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion.
To close the
Madam Chair, I move that the board of supervisors approve the conditional use applications of Kenneth and Andrea Connors to allow animal husbandry as an accessory use of the single family dwelling located at 1671 and 1681 East Stroudsburg Road.
I second.
Thank you. Did we need to close the hearing before we made the motion?
No, we can close the hearing now.
Okay, so the hearing is then closed? You're
Well,
declaring
before we do
closed?
that, I just want to make sure to move my exhibits into the record.
Yeah, A1 through A7.
Thank you.
Moved into the hearing.
Okay, and now
That's fine.
it's closed. Okay, excellent. All right, so there is a motion on the table. It's been seconded. Thank you. Are there any questions of anybody in the room regarding this use and this hearing? Anybody on the Zoom platform with any questions regarding this matter? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of allowing this use? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Welcome to East Goshen Township. All right.
Thank
Thank you for coming. We're going to, just so you all know, we're moving along pretty quickly now. We've got the financial report, and then we'll be doing the minutes and the treasurer's report, and then on to Sorrel Hill. So Dave, you want to take over?
Certainly. As of October 31st, then a pass-through general fund had year-to-date revenues of $11,095,866 and expenses of $10,470,074 for a net result of $625,792. As of October 31st, general fund balance was $6,798,226. Our year-to-date October revenue finished 0.4%, $41,000 above budget. Transfer tax receipts, EIT collections, on fees, insurance proceeds, and interest earnings offset budget shortfalls and real estate property tax collections. Public safety fees, that's the reoccupancy resale and contractor license permits, and transfers from fund balance to cover higher WEGO payments. Year-to-date October expenses of 0.3% or $27,000 under budget. A WEGO surplus of $104,000 offset the higher planning and zoning expenses, and the overage in PR expenses versus budget is offset by higher PR revenue. It looks like in my latest projection, we might not have to transfer from the fund balance to cover any WEGO.
Oh, nice.
That's what we're shooting for, so. Talking to Mark and making sure we don't get any surprises coming in, but yeah, I think we're in pretty good shape as opposed to what we budgeted for 2024.
Great. That's terrific.
Questions?
I'm just curious, on your third page, I'm sorry, on your third page, Dave, what was the $408,000 there. I guess it's conservation and development under infrastructure. Sustainability, what was that for?
That is bow tree.
Oh, that's the pond.
That's the pond.
Okay,
And about 270,000 of that is from the mobile dredging vendor that we got. And I just filed with the LSA, because we got the $176,000 grant to get that reimbursed.
oh, good,
Not sure.
good.
Excellent work. Okay. Any other questions for Dave regarding that financial report? And then we'll move on to the minutes. We have the minutes from September the 17th, October the 1st, and October the 15th.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from the September 17th, October 1st, and October 15th meeting.
Second the motion.
Thank you. Did anybody have any corrections? Thank you. Does anybody in the room have any questions regarding the minutes or on the Zoom platform? Seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of passing the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you. And on to the treasurer's report. Dave, that's you again.
Lucky man. So the treasury report is from October 10th to the November 14th. We've got tax collections, interest income, franchise fees, permits, P&R registrations. Those all drove our general fund revenue during this period. General fund expenses include our monthly legal contribution, street line painting, equipment rental, tree removal, medical and workman's compensation, insurance payments, tree removal twice. That's how much it sticks with me. It's brutal. Annual software expenses and routine operational expenses. Capital reserve expenses included P&R bleachers and ball field improvements. There's just brakes. We've got some different tools to deal with the sand to get those infields in good shape with ball players, as well as gas pump replacement costs. Our bond fund expenses included Milltown Dam rehabilitation costs. I think those are pretty much done. We should maybe just have a couple for the end of the year. But a lot of people are using the trail, and everybody seems to be pretty happy, so we're happy with that. Infrastructure sustainability fund includes the bow tree rehabilitation project costs. Any questions on any of the bills?
I have a question, Madam Chair. Dave, I see here on page 9, we have an invoice from WeGo for a special detail for food truck fest, and I'll ask this in the commission meeting tomorrow, but why wasn't that covered by grant dollars? Why were we charged for that?
I believe what the answer when I asked it at the commission meeting prior was it's only for outside townships. It's not for the townships that are covered.
That's not how it should be, because they had, I'm 99% sure that we've used it for Friends of East Goshen Day. Did we charge for, did they charge us for Friends?
That's charged for community day too.
So why would we, like, because I was on Zoom for the last one, why would we get a grant for our police department for community service and coverage for outside township?
That's a great question.
All right, I'll bring it up tomorrow. Can you remind me if I forget?
Yeah.
You know what? That's an interesting point, because they had ice cream cones with a cop in East Goshen Township. And that was community grant money that they used. They had have coffee with a cop up at the Giant on Boot Road, and that was covered with the grant money as well.
So I had thought it was, if it was initiated by WeGo or us, thought that was the difference.
I know
Is
there's
what we're
Ocean Fire for patrol at
At the
their.
Yeah.
But
I
they're-
thought that was subsidized.
That's my understanding, that it was subsidized.
All right,
as
well, let's
well.
figure this out tomorrow, because
Yeah, that's a good question.
That was my
I'm sorry, I forgot.
understanding.
I'm sorry I didn't catch that sooner for the other month, so.
I thought she said that.
Okay, anybody else with any other questions? Not yet. And I just want to point out that on page 8, under the materials and supplies, the orange 36-inch black base cone for $918 was not one cone. It was what, 35 cones. So we didn't pay for one
They're
cone.
10-pound cones and
They're heavy.
legit.
They're heavy legit.
They're like 25.
And I also asked the question about the bleachers. So do we receive the bleachers actually today?
Yeah,
Not
Jason,
yet?
I talked to Jason today. We have the bleachers. They have not been put in.
Okay, so we have the
Installed.
bleachers, they're just not installed. And the window washing is done once a year,
Yeah.
because I saw that was in there too. That's all I have. I would entertain a motion, John.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the receipts and approve expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and as summarized in the treasurer's report.
Second motion.
Thank you.
Take my job tonight, Pete.
I
Thank
know,
you.
right? Okay, does anybody have any questions about the bills in the township? In the room or on the Zoom platform? Russ, do you have anything for us? If you do, wave your hand. All right, seeing no questions, I'm gonna go ahead and call the question. Those in favor of paying the bills?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you very much. All right, under old business, there is none. Under new business, we have the Sorrel Hill HOA folks are here. And they want to talk to us about removing the cul-de-sac in their community.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, I was approached by via email by the Sorrel Hill HOA wanting to look at this island in their cul-de-sac. I think I said removal of cul-de-sac. That's not a correct way of saying it. So there's an island in the middle of the cul-de-sac there at the end of Sorrel Hill that is essentially just aesthetic in nature and there for beautification purposes, I guess was the original plan. I guess a majority, if not all, of the Sorrel Hill residents are thinking this is a little bit more detrimental than I think was, originally intended as far as being able to move trucks around the radius, and just being a little bit of a nuisance for that regard to parking and driving. So, it is a dedicated road to, East Goshen Township, so the bulk of the work would be on us. There is an electric line that runs through there that the HOA would probably have to remove before we got started, but I did have a conversation with Mark Miller about this. Mark in general is not a fan of these islands. We have them in a few places in the township. So I think his general philosophy is if we can get rid of them slowly, the better, because it makes plowing and things like that, general maintenance a little tougher. So I do have a picture now shared on the screen of what we're talking about to give a visual. But again, just, I wanted to run it by the board because it is a dedicated road. It is our island. But the folks from Sorrel Hill, I believe, are here, so they can also speak to what I am articulating to you as well.
Okay. Cody, you want to go?
I was just gonna make a motion. So I talked with.
I'm gonna ask the Sorrel Hill folks to come on up and, if we have any questions, we'll ask them real quick and then.
Not a problem.
And then we'll go from there. Come on up. Thanks.
Did Mark?
Just one of you is fine. Yeah,
Okay, so
did anybody get a ballpark from Martha on
He
it?
told me it was cheap and it was worth it because how hard it is to the snow plow. So
Yeah, yeah.
he didn't give me a dollar amount, but he said the guys could get done pretty quick. I know that's not good enough answer for Dave.
Actually, please state your name for the record. Thank you. Hi. Thanks for coming.
As a party to the board of Sorrel Hill, we've come to the consensus that the island poses a logistical issue. The trucks that come around, there's more delivery trucks now with Amazon and UPS. The trash truck, the recycling trucks that come through the city, it's an issue for them. It also poses an issue, God forbid, there's a fire or a EMS vehicle needs to come through, and then there's also the snowplow. It serves no purpose other than cosmetics. So we would respectfully ask that it be removed.
I mean,
The area, the hospital, Philippines, and just, maintain the aesthetics of the community.
Mr. Robbins, I'm curious, this is the homeowners association, right?
Correct.
Is everybody in favor of this? Am I gonna hear somebody complain later is what I asked.
And just state your name for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Bob Panero. I've been I was the original home in this community. And I've served as the treasurer for all 15 years. At our last board meeting where we had most of the people there, it was unanimous.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, and then for those who are not, we sent out minutes and no one complained.
No one's commented whatsoever.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you very much. Does anybody have any other questions for these gentlemen? Barbara, do you have a question?
Just the question, if there is an electrical line underneath that the homeowners association would take care of that before the township came in to do the road.
Yes, Derek had
Okay.
communicated with me that we would be responsible for that.
Okay.
Okay, just wanted to have that on the record. Thank you.
Derek, is there any way, We
Let me
can
see.
save the 2 trees.
We could talk to Mark and then, the gentleman we use as an arborist.
Okay.
And see what they say.
See what he says. If they can, they can, but it would be
Yep.
nice if they could.
They're nice mature trees. And so go ahead up.
Don't plant them somewhere else.
I just wanted to know if we could save the trees.
Like remove them and
remove
put them
and
somewhere
put
else.
someplace
Yeah.
else in the township,
So,
but
yeah.
they're mature. So-
Well, we'll probably be dead. We'll probably be dead by the time they have to be removed. So
Don't
don't
worry.
worry about it.
You don't have to worry about paying for that. Don't worry.
Are we just painting over the center then?
No, I think it's gonna have to be the entirety of the cul-de-sac to make it aesthetically.
But
That's
if,
what I'm saying.
but if you
It's gonna be
look
a
at
big black dot.
Yeah, it's not gonna look, yeah.
Doesn't
but,
matter.
but if you look at the,
Yeah,
if you
no.
look at the
Keep oil.
condition of this particular cul-de-sac, I mean, there's cracks all through it. It's probably fairly well up there on the rotation for paving.
I'd have to
So,
look, yeah.
so we probably would need to get a.
I mean, if it's close to
It's
up there, we
close.
might wanna just move it up and get it all
And
done.
get it done.
I'll check it out.
But I'd also, yes, sir, go ahead.
It's pretty worn
Mhm.
because of the heavy trucks coming around and turning so much, so
Yeah.
it's much more worn than the rest of the
Yeah.
street.
I think the
Gotcha.
discussion we were having is based on, we have a rotation of streets that we do and try to turn the township over every 15, 18 years, is it usually? 17 years. So I'm gonna go back and see where Sorrel Hill is in that rotation. And perhaps if it's close enough, we just move it up and just do it. Another point I want to make about timing is I don't have any right now. I'd have to talk to Mark about timing and how that would work with the Public Works team. So just
The original street was done in early 2008.
okay. So if it hasn't been turned over yet, it'd be close.
No, well, it's not been 17 years yet.
Then it has, then it's
Probably on for next year. Okay.
Okay.
Did you have something else?
No, we would be in complete favor of that.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for coming out. Madam Chair, I move that we go ahead and have the Public Works guys, move and remove the island and, we can get that paved.
Yeah, I can do. That's great.
Second
Thanks.
motion.
Do we have to
Great.
motion?
Oh, Barbara and John seconded it, so you had a second and a third. Does anybody want to be a fourth on that, Peter? You just gonna be another second? Yeah, go
The
ahead.
only thing I wanted to add is we did, just to get it on record, Michelle and I talked briefly about this on the phone. We might start bringing it up as we go through the paving schedule. If we find instances like this throughout the township, bring it up to the homeowners in different areas to see if they would be in favor of this too. Because like I said, Mark, it's very challenging for him for certain vehicles. So we might be a little bit more proactive with this in the future. Just a heads up to the board.
You're a brave man, looking for more business.
Gotta stay in business, you know what I mean?
So we're gonna go ahead and vote on this now.
We do.
We do, so we less maintenance.
Oh, yeah. for
Did you
sure.
have something else, Ms. Robbins? Okay,
I don't.
so I'm gonna ask if anybody else has any questions or comments in the audience or in the Zoom platform. And seeing none, I'm
Hey,
gonna call questions.
Hey, Michelle,
Oh, wait, Russ, yes. Go ahead.
I'm doing a Zoom call on my phone. Not sure how it's working, but
Yeah, that's good.
two questions I have with this cul-de-sac question. Removing the cul-de-sac, does it take any less traffic with the big trucks going around there versus just going around the cul-de-sac? Is that going to change any of the wear and tear on the cul-de-sac just because the cul-de-sac moved?
I don't know if it changed. I don't think it changes the wear and tear, Russ. Sorry, Derek.
Right.
here. I don't think it changes the wear and tear so much as it changes the emergency issues. I mean, if you have an issue with access or people bumping into cars because of this island so it's more of a safety issue as well than just a wear and tear from what I understand from the HOA.
Right.
I might offer a friendly amendment if you're willing, Cody, that we allow the removal of these islands. Not just this one, but all with the approval, with the input of Pinoni,
Well,
the engineer.
I think you mean as they come up on
As they
the
come up.
schedule, on the
Yeah.
paving schedule.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, as they come up with the,
Then my second question is kind of bounces off what you just said, Michelle, is that does open the doors to have people throughout the township that have cul-de-sacs in the area? At least one person in that cul-de-sac say, hey, I want mine removed. Can you do it? And how do you control something like that?
I don't think you can, I don't think you can control it, but I think the feeling internally from staff and Public Works is that it's a mutually beneficial removal versus us just doing something for residents because we don't want to hear them, play about it anymore. So I think it's, again, talking of how Public Works feels about it, and the gentleman brought up trash trucks, recycling trucks. I
Right.
think, you can't control that and people may continue to want it, I think it's a feeling from us that it could be a mutually beneficial thing long term.
Right. Yeah, I understand that part, but once you get something out there, hey, we're removing this one. Well, why can't you remove mine is where I was thinking. So appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thanks, Russ. I support the original.
Okay, so I'll withdraw my amendment.
Motion.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then I will call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Thanks,
for
guys.
coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that we have, let's get, preliminary budget. We're gonna get the rest of the business out of the way and then we'll get back to the budget at the end here. The LSA grant application regarding the blacksmith shop, rehab.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we are still in discussions with the PA 250 crew. Obviously, we have big birthday coming up for America in a couple of years, and there's a lot of planning going into that. One of those is the PA 250, and then there's going to be these heritage historic trails throughout. I think different counties are doing it. Chester County had approached us for the blacksmith shop to be along that trail. You already had approved the one grant. This is another grant. This is specifically for more of the rehabilitation for some of the issues over there for the kiosk. We're going to need internet over there, as I think we discussed already in public. We might need some electrical upgrades to go along with that. See, the problem is we don't have all the specs yet from the people that make these things. So we need specific pads, concrete pads for this stuff. And just general updates as Jason kind of laid out in the memo. So we are asking for approval to apply for this. There's no match for it. And they are opening up for a sizable amount of money in general for the PA 250 project. So we're just trying to get our piece of the pie, so to speak, in order to make the upgrades, in order to be a part of this historic event. So this is laying it out there. Again, this is just for the application process, and then we'll come back to you when we get the grant.
For those of us who are ignorant, myself, what is DCED-LSA?
Department of Community and Economic Development. That is the department at the Commonwealth level that runs the LSA grant program.
And LSA,
It's the gambling money, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the local share.
so this is state
Yes.
gambling money.
It's the same one that did the money for the Goshen Fire Company, right, Dave?
Yes.
Yep, and the Bow Tree Pond.
And the Votary Pond, yes.
All right. I don't gamble, so I'm all in favor of this.
Me too.
I do, and I'm okay with my money going there. So I authorize staff to submit the 2024 DCED LSA grant application towards the blacksmith rehabilitation project in the amount of 200,000.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right, is there any other question or further discussion on the board regarding this? If there are any questions in the room or on the Zoom platform? Seeing none, I'm gonna call the question. Those in favor of the application for the $200,000 grant? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have, let's go ahead and move up to G. Because Jerry's here. Jerry, is here with the Pipeline Task Force. And Derek, do you want to take it from there?
Yeah, we have two pipeline issues.
Yeah, I know. Let's talk about the, valve station first. F.
Sure.
Do F and then we'll do G.
Sure. So the pipeline valve station protections, get the number here. Thank you. So we are, the Pipeline Task Force, they've been having some discussions about specific issues with valve station protection in the township. This had stemmed from, not that that's never a concern, that's always a concern, but this had stemmed from a specific incident in Houston recently. And an out of control vehicle crashed into an unsecure above ground valve. And I think the gentleman that actually was driving the vehicle died, and it was a big mess. And it took them days to actually take the fire out, right, Terry?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
sure, go ahead.
I'm a Gerald Sexton, pipeline task force. As Eric said, back in September, there was a large pipeline fire in Fort Texas. The cause, as he said, was a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed, hitting an above ground valve station on a pipeline. The valve station was basically demolished. The contents of the pipeline leaked and immediately ignited. That resulted in an explosion, a subsequent large fire, lasted 4 days until the material between the shutoff valves, which are upstream and downstream of the damaged valve station. There's a lot of material between those valves, took 4 days to burn it off. There indicated the driver was killed. Fortunately, that was the only fatality. 4 other people sustained non-life threatening injuries. There was significant damage to the nearby buildings and vehicles. The area impacted by this incident was about a half mile from the fire. That included evacuations and shelter-in-place orders. The pipeline is operated by Energy Transfer. Familiar with them, is 20-inch diameter. Was transporting material called Y-grade natural gas liquids. Similar to what we have here in the township, not exactly the same. The material in the port is a raw blend of NGLs. The valve station in question was surrounded by chain link fence, only top of barbed wire. There were no protective bollards. So this caught my attention along with Michelle's attention too. So I completed a comparison of the port pipeline to the East Ocean Township pipelines, and there are many similar features. Here in the township, we have 4 above ground stations. If you give those pictures there, if you want to call them up.
Were they in the packet?
I emailed to you.
I'm not gonna be able to do it right now.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah.
they're not in the packet.
I don't think I put them in
That's
the
all right.
packet.
Okay,
That's
Yeah.
fine.
he can send you those
That's
pictures.
fine.
Like
Yeah.
He can also send you a video. It's kind of poor quality of the actual crash.
But the two stations that were most vulnerable. Want to just talk about those two?
Sure,
We'll just
yeah.
leave the others out of it.
Right, the other 2 are far enough away from the roadway that at this point, we don't really think there's a high probability of a vehicle strike. The 2 that are of concern are both on Paoli Pike. One is the Adelphi Gateway Valve Station, that's on the north side of Paoli Pike across the street from the shopping center. The other one is the valve station on the south side of Paoli Pike, down that way. It's across the street from the Sunoco gas station. All of these stations, all of them have fencing, but no bollards. The pipeline task force discussed the incident report in detail at our meeting on October the 10th. Probably no coincidence, but 5 days later, I received an email from Michelle expressing concerns very similar to those raised by the PTA. I replied to Michelle, let her know what we were already working on this topic, provided a summary of what we discussed. Our last meeting was on November 14th, last week. Michelle attended, we again discussed this topic and agreed on the path forward. So we feel that, in our list of valve stations, number 1, which is the Adelphi Gateway one, is, it is protected right now by guardrail that's there. And so there is some protection already in place. I think for now, we'll just not worry about that one. It's the Williams Valve Station. Okay, across the street from the Sunoco station. It's on the south of Paoli Pike. There's nothing there right now. Vehicles approaching eastbound. Okay, so they were coming from let's say Westchester or West Goshen Township up to the park. They're driving along, on the right side of the road, there are some trees and bushes, there's a slight depression in the ground there. But a vehicle that left the road could reach that, valve station. Coming the other way, let's say from the park going to downtown Westchester, all a vehicle would have to do would be to veer off the road, and it is basically a straight path right to the valve station. Our recommendation at our meeting last week was that the board consider some type of additional safety measures for this valve station and evaluate your options with PennDOT. You know, we would suggest to start with guardrail. It is something that's, you know, our understanding that is within your control. You have to work with PennDOT to do that, but you would not need any kind of permission from the owner of the pipeline or anything like that. That's a short-term action that we would recommend.
Okay.
Long-term, the pipeline task force would like to continue our research into what kind of rules and regulations are in existence. To be honest with you, we've found nothing so far, which is disturbing in that there are no legal requirements for ballards or even fencing around valve stations that could be struck by a vehicle. To get that in place would require the pipeline owner to do it. I don't think it'd be within your jurisdiction to install ballards like that. Plus, they would be quite expensive. I'm not talking about the kind of ballards you see at the grocery store or the, you know, CVS. These would need to be substantial, well-engineered ballards. But the guardrail is something I think that, you know, you could use the one on the north side as a model. I think the same kind of guardrail would definitely help.
Okay.
So that's where we stand with that now. Michelle indicated that funding for this would come not from the township budgets, but
Not necessarily, that's something that we'd have to talk to Dave to see if there is something in our transportation budget or even liquid fuels or something. But that's something that is kind of far down the road. It's something that we'd have to have Derek explore with PennDOT probably.
Derek
because-
or Jerry, who owns the right of way? Is it all PennDOT?
Yes, on
So if we
Paley
were to
Pike,
put
yes.
something in front of these facilities, it would have to go through PennDOT. Is
Yes,
there any part of it that's ours?
not on
That
Paley
was my
Pike,
question too, John, because I don't want to wait for PennDOT.
not on Paley Pike.
Well, yeah, Jerry thinks energy transfer is bad. PennDOT is more difficult to deal with than energy transfer. But
No, we're gonna edit that out since we're asking for something.
in favor of it. Anybody else?
Yeah, I hope we expedite it.
Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
So that's something that, I guess we can ask Derek to look into.
Yep.
Thank you,
No.
Jerry, for bringing that to our attention. I honestly had no idea, so.
Yeah, it's pretty, that one was pretty vulnerable.
And I think we want the pipeline committee to continue evaluating long-term
Sure.
options.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and we will keep you apprised and come back with a recommendation based upon what we find.
Okay.
But like I said, ballards is probably gonna have to go through the pipeline owners, and as Derek can tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
At least if we can do something in the meantime until you've further vetted things
Yeah.
out. I think at least if we can have Derek look into that, because he's not busy.
Good.
Are there any other pipelines with ballards around them
No.
as in any part of this country?
none
Are
that we
built
have,
that way at all?
none that we have found, which I find disturbing.
Disturbing.
I will say, I did read one short blurb in an article that gave the impression that going forward in certain states, ballards would be required, but all existing above ground infrastructure is grandfathered out of that. Which again, I also find disturbing and objectionable.
Well, yeah, because they're not making new valve stations anywhere. They're trying to retroactively use
Right.
and retrofit the ones that are in existence,
Exactly,
so.
so then they would be exempt from having to put ballard.
All right.
Keep Jerry.
So we'll keep Derek busy with that one. And then let's move on to G, which is the meeting time change.
Right,
request.
so just literally this afternoon, we reached consensus on what we would like to do there. And I emailed Derek and Barbara. So what we'd like to do is go to 6 meetings next year. Would be in the odd numbered months. We would meet the 3rd Tuesday of those odd numbered months at 10 a.m. here in this conference room. There would be one exception, that would be in May, because May 20th, which is the 3rd Tuesday, is the primary election day. So for that month and that month only, we would meet Monday, the 19th. I think this would better suit our priorities, and I don't know if you're aware, that we're down to 3 members now, we've lost.
So we need another two members.
Yeah.
So just another point to make, because the rest of the board may not be aware, because I happen to be there. And you were discussing the fact that no sooner do you have a task list of things to do and research, and suddenly the next meeting is upon you. So you're looking for a little bit more grace so that you can actually do your homework, if you will.
Yeah.
And prepare a little bit more efficiently.
That's the kind of work we're into now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of research and digging.
Yeah.
I really don't see the need for having monthly or even twice a month meetings. Like maybe 5 years ago, that made
It
sense.
was more urgent, yeah.
Who's your board liaison?
Barbara is.
Oh, you checked this with Barbara then?
You okay with all this?
I was surprised not to be on the email thread of the
Okay,
date changes.
all right, well, apologies on that. We wanted to get it worked through our own group first. Right, but, hopefully you're all right.
So I think those are dates that I could make, but I do need to go back and check
Okay.
the calendar.
Well,
I would have a little more involvement in
Understood.
the calendar selection would have been appreciated.
so there's nothing the board has to do tonight or approve tonight. This will be on the advertisement we do in December for the reorg anyway. This was simply to get it out here and get your any and all feedback, because when you see it on there in January, then it's too late to make changes. So
Right.
wanted to get your feedback on that tonight, and then based on putting the ad out there for the reorg, then that's what we'll do.
I think it's a great idea to have it during the daytime, because it might open up a number of people who are maybe retired and want to do something but don't want to come out at night. Yeah, so I'm hopeful that's actually going to work. To have a few people, bring some professionals who would like to do something but can't do it at night. Like, you might be able to take an hour and a half during their work day, so that's great.
Good.
Okay, great.
Right.
All right, thanks for coming.
Thanks, Jerry.
and explaining that, Jerry, appreciate it.
They're
Appreciate all
meeting in
work
the
that
side.
Task force done.
In the side room.
All right, bid results for 2025, and then we'll do the
Meeting in the side.
bid results.
Pipeline task force.
I know,
That's the
I'm
request.
hopping around, stand your
That's the
toes.
side, that's the request.
All right, so
Side
Derek-
room now.
Derek, we have a bid request, excuse me,
Yep.
bid results for the various
Yep.
equipment that we have to rent.
So this is what we do on an annual basis to try to go out to bid for various things that we rent, and not just rent, also different signs and posts. So there are a few that we have to go back out for, as we didn't get any takers on that. So that would be chemicals and triaxle dump trucks, because there's no bids. So we'll have to do that. Hopefully we'll get something back for December. But otherwise, the low bids are all highlighted in yellow. I guess the biggest difference is the rental equipment without operators. Foley has had that for quite a while. They were not the low bid this year, so we'll have to work with that new vendor, Groff. But Mark has made contact and feels confident that will be okay. And again, these numbers are not exactly what we're spending. These are based on potential weekly prices if you have it, monthly prices.
Do we take the low bid everywhere?
Yes, we're
I'm good with that.
legally required to do that.
So what these monthly prices, the motion, which one do you want me to do?
You don't have to do
Do
that.
we
You
need a
just
motion on this at all?
Yes, you could just Sorry, I thought Mark had a motion on here. It would just be to accept the low bids as listed in the memo for the 2025 bid results for the all-terrain crawler carrier, the crusher, fuel, milling machine, rental equipment without operators, and signposts.
I so moved.
Excellent.
Easy
Barbara
enough.
moved, and
Second.
John seconded.
Thank
Thank you. Excellent. Does anybody have any questions about that here or on the Zoom platform? Does anybody have any questions on the board before we call the question? Let's call the question. Those in favor of the bid amounts as stated
Aye.
in the memo? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we have a discussion about the Malvern Library Board appointment. Representing the township.
So thank you, Madam Chair. So we did have a opening come up on our representation for the Malvern Library. East Goshen has 2 members on the board at all times. There's an open vacancy on that for East Goshen with Kathy Kavanaugh going off, and that basically just went out off her term after 3 years. We thank her for her service. The person who has expressed interest is Caitlin O'Donnell, and she briefly met with the board to basically share her interest and her experiences. So she was the one that had also gone to the Malvern Library itself, and she's been working there. She is a frequent flyer over in the Malvern Library. And again, she is the one that is up for appointment if the board so chooses.
Thank you, Derek. As they said, we met with Caitlin. She's going to be a fantastic board member. So Madam Chair, I move that we appoint Caitlin O'Donnell to the open East Goshen Seal Malvern Library Board.
Thank you, Cody. Do I have a second? Thank you, Pete. All right. Any questions regarding this appointment in the room or on the Zoom platform? And seeing none, I'm going to call the question. Those in favor of appointing Caitlin O'Donnell?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Did you, Barbara, did you get your vote in? I'm
Yes, I
sorry.
did.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. And that leaves us with one last,
The main event of the night.
thing, it's just for form. There are no standing issues or projects right now. There's no public comment. Is there, do you have any public comment? Russ, do you have any public comment? There's no liaison reports. And under any other matter, John?
Yeah, I want to throw out a question quickly. We have the 2025 ceremony coming up. And this, I hope, Jessica will take note of this too. I'm curious if we should or could discuss completing the band show for next year for any ceremony that might occur. They weren't listening to me, so.
No, I was.
I
The band shell.
band shell,
Band shell.
band shell.
It's a clamshell band shell.
Okay.
Okay.
I just, I like to have us consider that, no vote or anything right now. Just, take note of it. I think we should have something like that. Prepared for next year.
Should be installed in 2025.
Yeah. Early in that.
Okay, we should probably put it in the capital budget then.
I was just gonna say,
I don't know what it'll cost. I don't know what it'll take to do it, but, I think you ought to have something like that ready in case we want to have a ceremony.
It's expensive.
Band shell, being a member of the Chester County Concert Band that plays 6 to 8 outdoor concerts, some in band shells, mostly not. A band shell that would meet the needs of most musical groups is, you're talking a significant structure with lighting. Probably.
Jason also mentioned probably some changing rooms.
right.
Stuff like that.
Changing rooms, not so much lighting, but still, and flexibility for different sizes of groups. I know that, you know, there are community bands in the area that are 40 to 50 members. The Chester County Concert Band, which is, you know, meets right down at Fugate Middle School, is 90 members strong. So I think you need to do a little research before.
Well, he also has other theater groups to them too, so.
That's why I brought the
changing
question
rooms,
up.
yeah.
I'm not making a motion here. I'm just
Right.
suggesting I look into it.
How much would that be? How much do you think?
I have no idea.
That's
how
the
much-
first question.
$500,000.
I don't know. I mean,
I think that we
if
need,
a new bathroom costs
Yeah.
200 to 500,000, then a new
That's a good point.
auditorium will cost that.
well, I think that we could at least have maybe an exploration of how much something like that could run.
Don, I would be willing to be part of a committee to look at existing area band shells and theater coverings. Like Rose Street Park, there are a number around that might give an idea of what it is that would be appropriate for East Goshen and
Good.
a place to start.
That would be great. It would be you and Dave, and if anybody else on the board is a member of a band or.
Gee, Michelle, I wonder who he was.
I don't know what
He's a
he's talking
flute
about.
player, flautist.
So we
Should-
could, we
Can I,
could, we could,
Since we're
yeah.
gonna pass a preliminary budget hopefully tonight, should we, and we're gonna have a few caveats, like we're gonna have a couple changes that I know of. That I'll mention to you that will be in the final of, for public discernment. Should we put something in as a placeholder in the capital
No,
budget?
if we have, if people want to support this, and I'm not saying we have to, I would say it should come out of the infrastructure, sustainability fund.
It could come out of the,
Would it-
it could
come
come out
out
of
of
the park and equipment fund too. It could come
Yeah.
out of the Paley Pike Trail and improvement.
Bond
as well.
fund.
I think
the
what
bond
Dave's,
money.
I think what Dave's trying to articulate is that the preliminary budget advertisement is an all funds advertisement, meaning this has to be accurate for 2025 legally.
Right,
So we can't then go back in the middle of the year and add a $500,000 project. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, that would be disgusting.
We would just-
I see Mark's head
we would
shaking.
just be
Good.
over
What's the
budget by
percentage?
half a
What's the
million dollars.
percentage?
10%. John and I,
No.
John and I are up for,
Couldn't be able to go back in that. It's usually only, it's a very small percentage.
All right, well, we don't know what this would cost. This is something that was brought up a couple of years ago. And, I forget what,
Jason's had it on the capital budget for
Yeah.
about 5 years. and he
Something
said
took
the
priority.
bathroom was a better priority.
the bathroom is bigger
And we took
priority,
the bathroom out because we didn't have firm enough numbers.
right, right.
well, I'd still like to know what it would cost.
That's doable.
I thought so. And. Well, I won't say anything.
So I think that the number's 10%. If we're gonna, if the budget is going to change more than 10%, then it has to be.
Yeah.
And
it
then
has to
any
be-
line, any line item,
Line.
25%.
Okay, any
That's if
one
we
line.
actually put it in the budget, change the budget. If
Correct.
we just go over the budget. That's different.
Correct.
Okay,
That is also correct.
We don't have to put it in a budget.
I like the way you think, and I will ask Derek not to say what Dave is trying to say is. Dave is pretty much out there with what he says. But it's just something I toss up for discussion. I'm not out or anything like that.
I think Barbara and I can probably put our heads together. There's no correspondence or reports of interest, are there?
No, I did have any other matter. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
what's the other?
So real quickly, two finance things, actually. One, National Park Service finally approved our DCNR budget for, what is it, $250,000?
380?
380,
For what?
even better. For the rest of the money we're owed for the Hershey Mill Dam.
Oh, that's
So
wonderful.
the check is supposed to be here before the end of the year.
Checks in the-
It's in the mail. $380,000. So Dave and I have been, I don't know how many email exchanges we had in the last 6 months, but it was a lot. But so that is good news.
Good work.
Yep.
What does that mean for us?
It means we get $380,000.
$380,000 to capital reserve.
Yep.
For John's band shell.
Let's not spend it.
All of that, I expect you to paint my name on it.
What, so last thing, board did for the remaining ARPA money, I believe, gave me the go ahead to do some more IT upgrades here. I did get the quote and pretty much ready to go. There was for what I want to do, there's basically a $3 to $4 grand difference between the actual budget and what it costs. So Dave and I were looking at different 2024 line items, of which we had money left over. One was conferences and training, another was ABC event, which we didn't have. Wanted to see if the board would be okay with allocating $3 or $4 grand in the existing 2024 budget based on that differential. Now I do have something I could act on the project, but my goal here is to not have to go back to the drawing board on this IT stuff for very long. I want to kind of take one bite out of the apple and not have to go back to it in a long time. I feel like I wanted to do that the first time we did the upgrades, but I also feel like I have educated myself enough now the second time around to really firmly put everything in place. So I have to talk to Mark to see if this announcement's okay, or if we should put it in the December budget for purposes of letting you know and or passing it. But I wanted to see preliminarily the board's feedback on
What are we talking about?
allocation.
So what is the amount that you were looking to, what's the amount that we?
29,000 and change, and
That's
it's like
half.
32 something, I
What are
believe
you gonna
now.
buy?
So it's a new microphone sound system. It is upgrade, I should say. It is a large screen, kind of like WeGo did, those big, which is gonna sit over there. And then it is 2 cameras, one facing the audience, the other on the side. And then there's going to be a rally bar with the TV over there, mainly for, and this is maybe interesting to the board for when we have private meetings and stuff, would kind of transform that TV into a private Zoom area. So I find, and I know some of you have had these private Zooms in here where it's very awkward to like know where to sit and how to do people. So we kind of wanted to be able to have sort of like a full interactive area over there, smaller area for smaller Zoom conferences that we can utilize this room for in that way.
Okay.
Again, we're like 3 to 4 grand over. I have a backup plan if not, but again, I'm just trying to take one bite out of this apple.
Can this be also used for any other besides the board? Could it be used for other ABCs? Could it be used for Park and Rec?
Can be used for any, well,
we-
actually, Partner Rec's a big one, which is why I want to have that over there. Because Jason has different programming with teenagers that they can use that. Actually, the screen itself over there will be touchscreen, so we can kind of use it like a blackboard at times. Or like a chalk whiteboard, so again,
Yes. There's one.
There you go.
Or you have one, Derek. I don't
So
know.
do we need to put it on the agenda?
I don't know, I want to talk to
Mark?
Mark Thompson about that. Probably, but we can, yeah, we'll just do it in December, so December 17th meeting, so
Okay,
I'll have it on there, thank you.
okay, thank you. You maybe have some more
Okay.
detail.
Yep.
I know Dave's chomping at the bit.
Get out of
You
here.
ready?
Sure.
So I saved you to the last, so you'd be incentivized.
There you go. Thank you, Michelle.
Yeah, you guys have all had it. It's been posted for weeks now. The only changes to the existing general fund pass through all other funds is really gonna be any changes in WeGo. So we should get a final WeGo budget. Kathy did send, there should be another $75,000 for the total WeGo savings that she neglected to put in for the SRO payment from the Westchester School District.
Oh.
So that'll drop our number a little bit lower. And then we'll put a placeholder in based on what the commission ends up giving the chief for a raise. So those are really the only changes that I'm suggesting. I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns. I kind of want to point out in the changes from the previous versions to now.
Yeah.
I took out all of the items that we paid from the infrastructure sustainability.
Here we go.
Which one particular member was a little reticent to want to do. So
Who?
that would be Mr. Herzog.
Sorry, for the record, thank you.
So
So I do have the changes from the October 15th meeting until now up on the board, so everybody could see. I think that's the most relevant from what
Okay,
we're
that's-
discussing, so
What page is that?
that should be right up front. It's not a particular page, but in the order of the packet, that was the first.
So I
Yeah,
After the
okay,
last,
okay.
I
Here
boosted
it is,
back
I got
up
it, I
the
got it.
quarterly recharges, and I added in additional Parks and Rec revenue. We're gonna be redoing our fee ordinance schedule. I made a reduction in the WeGo budget. I added back the expense for stormwater material, park tree removal, park maintenance and repair, and stormwater rentals that were originally gonna come from infrastructure. Now they're back coming out of the general fund.
Okay.
increased training slightly, increased Goshen fire funding and computer consulting services. We're still in a net zero budget. And that won't change from now until the final version. The only change that you see in the general fund is gonna be legal expenses will drop further, and I will probably offset. I'll decrease the quarterly recharges by whatever that savings is. So that we'll still be net zero. I'll take the revenue down a little bit, we'll reduce the expenses by the same amount. State liquid fuel fund, there was no change. Shoring equipment, we are gonna split in half between sewer reserve and capital reserve. And the municipal authority approved of that, yesterday. They should pass the final MA budget in December. We had 2 new members, so I went through our 20-year plan, the origins of the 10-year plan to begin with, how I go through sewer rate increases, walk through that with John Stipe, Sean Ellsworth, and Dana and Mark, and everybody helped fill them in. So I'm gonna give them an extra time to review the MA budget and ask any questions, and hopefully pass that in December. The transportation fund, no changes from the last version. Sewer operating funds, we needed to put in Hunt Country engineering for the Hunt Country force main and changes that are needed. A breathing apparatus for confined space, new meter pit, and Mark said we should increase the PA1 calls for vehicle and wage expense because they were a little bit low compared to what we're seeing
Okay.
this year. We've got sewer reserve fund. Mark has requested in the MA, thought it was a good idea, as well as Spinoni, to have a forklift, the used forklift bought and stationed at the RCSTP. So we don't have to go back and forth between it when they're really just needing things like pumps and stuff like that. So we'll pay that out of the sewer reserve fund. They would take half of the shoring equipment, and I increased, talking with Mike Ellis from Benoni for the MA, the Hunt Country force main replacement, increased that by $8,000. And those are the only changes from the last version to now.
Okay, Dave,
Yes, sir.
going up to the 50,000-foot level. If I'm reading this right, this year's budget, you expect to come in at $10,183,000 and change. And the proposed budget is $10,073,000. Is that correct? In other words, it's down about $115,000, or am I wrong?
Revenue,
I'm looking at, total budget, on the big chart. Big chart, second last page.
let's.
Am I wrong?
I think that's the police. Is that the police budget? It sounded like.
That's police.
Is that only police?
This one here,
No, I don't think
so it's
so.
page 2 at the top. So let's say page 2, version 3 at the top, over here.
Yep.
That's police.
Yeah, the legal budget.
Is that all police budget?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
so half of that is ours.
55%.
55%. Yep, that's gonna be,
Very googly moogly. Okay, I thought that it said total budget. I didn't realize it was total police budget. All right, where's the total budget for us?
general fund,
Yeah, whatever you want to call it.
it could be.
Which section is it?
The first 4 pages where it's budget by department. So there's 4 pages stapled together.
Huh?
And that is 13 million. $13,167,503. And the budget last year for 2024 was $13,229,833. So we're dropping it $62,000.
Does that make you happy, John?
It always makes me happy that the budget is lower, but I don't know what page says.
I think you're close. Is that the fourth page?
Is this the,
That's the one. Look at the last page at the bottom.
oh, the last page on the bottom?
That's it.
Got it. There you go. There's so many numbers.
Okay, and
So it should say 13,167,503
not like
dollars.
it's hidden or anything.
So it is less than last year. proposed.
Yep.
Yep.
And it's down by what it was, 62,000?
$62,333.
Well, I think that's the best we can do. We've certainly gone over this and good. No,
I agree. No, I agree.
That's great.
Now we can pay your salary.
Considering, pay my salary, yeah. Considering, the inflation we've had over the past couple of years,
I think that's fantastic. I think it's amazing.
It's gonna be tight, I'm not gonna lie, this is gonna take a lot of looking at month to month. Just like I always do, I'll keep you updated. I usually start the year.
Yep.
And as soon as we get 1 month in, I'll take 1 month actual and have 11 months budget. And as soon as we get 2 months in, 2 months actual, how much budget?
We can't ask for more.
And then you just see where you're off and where you gotta cut, so.
With that, Madam Chair, I'd like to move that we authorize the township manager to advertise the 2025 preliminary budget for all funds as presented tonight and with any and all authorized changes as discussed.
Thanks for the work, Dave.
Second
Appreciate
motion.
it.
All right, everybody seconded that.
Great work, Dave.
Got it, Jess? Thank you. Dave, I mean, it's amazing work. You've been working really hard on this, I know, since like, I don't know, January, I think.
It's a year-long thing.
It's,
really,
and
really
you know what,
does.
that's the thing, you really, you made it a lot, smoother this year for us too, to be able to come in and
It's
so
a great fun day.
So
I'm
thank you
glad.
for that. Are there any questions regarding the budget here in the room or on the Zoom platform?
Hey, Michelle, it's Ryan.
Yeah, Russ.
Russ?
Hey, sorry to come to this budget thing so late in the game, but something just came across my all my encounters with talking to different people in different parts of Chester County is that I did bring this up one other time before about the trash collection process.
Right.
And the performance clause that's in that contract. Have we submitted
Yes.
any claims to the trash company for lack of performance?
Steve,
Derek?
Dave-
Glad you brought
Steve's
that up,
gonna,
Russ.
Steve's gonna
Yep.
mention
I'm
that.
glad you brought that up. Yes, I have fined them about $80,000 year to date.
Perfect. That's right in line, what another township has told me as well. So
Yeah, a lot.
my
You can
second,
go di-
pardon
you
me?
can go different ways, Russ. So some people will pay their bills and then take them to court and go through that stuff. I just don't pay the whole bill.
Right. The yeah, but the performance clause in the contract is specific, isn't it? Not that I've seen the contract, but usually performance clause, or you have to submit them within a certain period of time, isn't it? Or
Yeah, I
not?
submit it a month.
Yeah, we do it monthly.
Okay. Then the last question is, again, sorry for coming to this one, but I think West Whiteland is going to do their own trash collections?
I think they're considering it.
I heard they were considering it. I don't have a firm source on that, but that's the rumor mill. But as far as hold on, you said private? I think they were
Township.
Yeah. Yeah, they were talking about taking it in-house for us. I had thought, but I don't know if that's
Yeah,
accurate or
I
not.
think from some of the things that I've seen, I think their total reserves went from $160 million to something like $60 million. So maybe they are starting their own company. Who's that? They're
Have
spending a lot
have we ever thought along those lines of doing something like that?
of-
The trash, taking trash in-house?
I mean,
I mean,
looking at
I
it, why-
thought about it in my mind when I sleep at night, but I'm not trying to be facetious. So the problem with it, Russ, is the upfront costs are astronomical. And not only the cost, but then logistically, getting it up and running, how to manage it. That and, a police department are probably the two biggest things. You could start from scratch here. So,
we would be growing government by double.
yeah. So,
No thanks.
when I get frustrated with Blazinski, I tend to think about, those type of things, but, then then my cooler head prevails and I just think about, the upfront costs and just trying to logistically, I don't think it's really cost effective from a taxpayer perspective. That's just my personal opinion.
But have we talked to West Whiteland about how they just came up with that decision? I thought their decision process within 3 to 5 paying for itself.
The better township to talk to is West Bradford, because there's only two places, municipalities in Chester County that actually do it in-house. One is West Bradford,
Okay,
which is, and the other is Westchester Borough. So I've
Right.
talked to both managers about that, and they also have kind of told me the same thing. I mean, they like having it now, and if you were to be able to get everything in place and snap your fingers, it's great, but the upfront costs are pretty bad. I mean, I think.
can imagine what the refuse rate would be to start with.
Yeah, and just for a logistical example, if they have to replace a truck or buy one new, one trash truck is running like $600,000 to $750,000, and it takes 2 years for delivery. So
Right.
logistics of it also, if you're not up and running already on that,
Right.
is quite alarming too. So I get where you're going with it. Not that I haven't thought about it. It's a very, very heavy lift.
Yeah, I kind of thought that, but when I heard someone was doing it, I said, geez, what?
I don't think but
Okay,
Russ, if we have to look at anything, we would look at another private company to do the service rather than Blazinski, but that's the next step.
Well, we're actually in the process, Mark, Lynn and I, of reviewing the contract for next year for bid in July. Probably we're gonna go out to bid in May or June. We're obligated to take the low bidder now, but we are tightening up the contract as much as humanly possible to try to get the best outcome.
right. Yeah, I understand what you're going through, believe me.
Yeah,
Well-
anything else?
Thanks a lot.
Oh, no, thank you. So I'm going to go ahead and call the question. Are we going to pass the preliminary budget to the public? Those in favor, please vote aye. Aye. All right, thank you. And I don't think there's any other business to attend to.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks so much, everybody.
I think that was a trash bag.